we're going to talk about bootstrapping, how I started different businesses with no money up front. I'm also going to go in depth with Spikes Academy, one of the startups that I built and sold with my partner Jorge Tavera, and also Adios Garlic, the current startup that I'm building as we speak. Enjoy!
Today's guest is a man with many passions. He's co-founded Spikes Academy, which generated over 100K in revenue from initial investments of $36. He's a digital marketing expert working at Village Gourmet, and is now the founder of Adios Garlic, a hot sauce with no onion or garlic, but with all the flavor. Welcome to Co-Fire, Andreas Pinero.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Really happy we're doing this.
First of all, what is Spike Academy, and how did you come up with the idea?
Spikes Academy is an online academy of professional players of Magic the Gathering, teaching people that want to be professional. So it's online courses made by the best of the best. That company, I sold it already and it got acquired by someone else, so maybe eventually we can talk about that, which was amazing. But the important thing of Spikes Academy and why I like that story so much is because at the same time I started Spikes Academy, I started another program, it was an app that was called Gig Nomads. Gig Nomads was an app that I created with a different team than Spikes Academy. The same month we launched both Spikes Academy and Gig Nomads. Gig Nomads is a platform in which nomads, people that are working online and traveling all year long, can find different gigs in different places. So if you want a little bit of money, like there's a grocery store that they can hire you just for the day to do a short gig, or there's a bar that they want a bartender just for that night. That was Gig Nomad. It was a platform that would connect nomads with gigs. I launched both companies with completely different teams, and after the launch of the MVP, I was gonna measure the success of both companies. And Gig Nomad's launch wasn't impactful, but Spikes Academy's launch, the goal was to sell, I think, 50 courses in the first month, and we sold the 50 courses in the first day. So doing all of the goals of the month in one day let me see like, wow, definitely Gig Nomads is not the way to go, even though that app sounds ambitious and good and big. Spikes Academy was already giving us proof of work, so we knew that that was the way to go. So I left Gig Nomads to go full into Spikes Academy, which was an amazing experience, changed my life completely. I am not someone that dives in drastically into ideas right away. I like to start with ideas, throw them out, and see how audiences respond, and see how the market reacts. And based on that, I like to follow the clues. So that was a really clear example for me that Spikes Academy was the way to go. I did it with one of my best friends. It was just the two of us. $36 how much it cost us to have that website. I literally tweeted to the best players of the game like, hey, let's do this. It's an experiment. If we sell 50 in 1 month, we continue. If we don't, then we stop it. We did it with the best player in the world. He said, yes, let's try it out. We sold everything in the first day. We knew it was going to be a success. And it was just me and my friend in the computer. I was in Thailand at that moment. The professional player was in Brazil and my friend was in Panama. So when there's a good idea and there's a market, just launch it and you follow the clues. It worked.
That's such a cool story. I'm so keen to hear like how it actually impacted your life. But I want to know, you mentioned that you launched and you sold the 50 in 1 day. How did you do that?
Magic the Gathering is a hobby, it's a niche game. Even though people play it professionally, it's really niche. Like, it's not a massive game like Pokemon or League of Legends, which millions of people play. So we realized that this game is so niche and so specific that influencers was going to be the best way, because not even Facebook ads were gonna work because there wasn't many companies targeting this audience. We were competing with probably League of Legends or Hasbro or companies with way bigger budgets than me and my friend. So we knew that ads wasn't the way. We didn't have an audience to do email marketing. There were so many things that, because this was a small audience, high ticket, because courses were around $100 at the beginning, which for a hobby it is more expensive than for other type of courses. So we tested different things, but the first week that launch, when I say like in the first week we sold in the first day we sold everything, it was the professional player saying, hey, I released this course, you wanna buy it, you can. So it was his audience what helped us a lot. So that gave us a hint that influencers was the way to go in this market. Because with different markets, then influencers is not the way to go. And sometimes you have to be skeptical with the authenticity of the influencers because there's a lot of inflated counts. So in this case, we just had the best player say like, hey, I did this, and that gave us a lot of traffic, a lot of traction. And then we did a normal funnel of email marketing. And I just want to repeat that in our case it was influencers, because in other companies, because I've launched I think more than 20 different companies, influencers hasn't been the way of go, like many times, like influencers is not the way. So in this case, because it was niche and because we had someone with such a loyal audience, it worked perfectly.
And if you don't mind me asking, like, what was that initial revenue split, and how did you come to determine that?
So that was one big mistake at the beginning. The first two contracts were in a 50-50 split, which wasn't good, because if it's a 50-50 split between the coach and the company, then all of the company expenses would take only of like my and my co-founder salary. So at the end of the day, our split would be way less. So in reality, it should have been a three-way. It should have been professional player, then all of the company expenses, and then our cut.
Mm-hmm.
Or it should have been, which that this is the final contract wind up being, first we cover the costs and then we do the 50-50 split. So all things change, every contract was different, but it just worked out. It was constant iteration, constant testing, constant trying. There's many caveats to this, like well, that's one of the reasons why we wound up selling the company, because I saw that there was really big opportunity in that industry or in that business model, but there were some contracts at the beginning that I would have liked to change. So I was like, let's start again differently, and probably I will start something similar, but it's all about experience. And I don't mind that the first contracts were not ideal, because these are things that you don't learn through theory, you learn through practice. Even though people say like, yes, like talk with lawyers or talk with other, yes, we did all of the processes, we talked with lawyers, we talk with accountants that advise us something, but at the end of the day, it's two humans negotiating a contract that works best. So you need practice. I At least that's how I learned. I needed like the practice, the grit, the doing it, like. So yeah, from theory to practice, there's a lot of gaps. So every time someone is like learning something, you have to put it in practice right away, or at least in the entrepreneurial work, because we go back into that. There's not just one playbook. There's many playbooks, and you have to adapt them to your reality. So absorb theory, then put practice, and then the idea here is like do practice in a way that will not affect you in the future. We were able to change the contracts every time we sign up someone new. We were able to change the contract, and that was pretty cool. It would have been super bad if we made the first contract public, everyone saw the first contract, and we were never able to change that contract. That would have sucked. So in our case, from theory to practice and constant iteration worked really well.
You mentioned that you got the biggest Magic the Gathering player, and then you got 8 more players to help you out. In terms of the courses themselves, how involved were you in building them, or did you leave it completely to the players themselves?
My partner, Jorge is the co-founder's name. He used to have a Magic store, physical store. Like he used to have a Magic physical store, and the store didn't provide the results that he wanted. So that's why when I came up with the idea of Spice Academy, I knocked on his door, because he already had knowledge of Magic the Gathering, of money in hobbies. Like he already knew how to manage money in hobbies, and what things worked and what things didn't work. He had the knowledge of the game, and I had the knowledge of online courses, because at the same time, and this is what I've been saying, like I run many businesses at the same time, and I follow the ones that work and I stop doing the ones that don't work. I had another online academy that was called From Passion to Project. It's in Spanish because it targeted the Spanish speaking audience. So it was De Pasión a Proyecto, which means from passion to project. I spent around 2 years doing online courses from people that wanted to start projects. I already knew everything that had to do with online courses, because I had been doing it for 2 years. What happens is that I have all of the knowledge of how to do the courses, how to from either edit them to organize the modules and the quizzes and all of that. And my partner had the Magic the Gathering specific knowledge. So we would come up with some ideas of the professional players, like, hey, you should do a course on this topic. And then he would come up with ideas, and it would be a brainstorming between my partner and him. And then I would grab all of the content, I would do the recording and the editing and all of the production side of it, and put it on the website. The first course that sold the most, it was the professional player with his iPhone. I think we just sent
Wow.
him a mic. We sent him a microphone because audio is extremely important. It was him with his iPhone in his house with a microphone. He sent us everything through Dropbox or something, or we transfer. We edited everything and packaged it and sent it, and it worked. By the end of the 2 years, when we were doing really good, we started traveling to the places where the professional players were, and we would record everything. But at the beginning, it was iPhone bootstrapped, and it worked. Like, it's great.
I love that. Yeah, the simplicity and just validating the concept before you kind of go all in and throw all your money at it. Yeah,
Exactly.
such a good takeaway.
What I was doing is that I had two academies running at the same time. Spike's Academy targeted the English speaking community, and the Pasión Project targeted Spanish speaking community. I saw the numbers of traffic and sales, and it was crazy to me how much profitable it is to do things in English than in Spanish. I think that
Wow.
regardless of the content or the topic, the language that you choose from, because we start seeing that in the Spanish Academy, only people from Spain and Latin America would buy. In the English Academy, people from Japan, Germany, people from all over, because English is the second language of many people. So this is another case in which just theory doesn't work as much as practice. I had to see that in my analytics and to see, like, wow, from now on, I'm only gonna start startups that are in English, because the
Mm.
profitability is like the audience increases, the traffic increases, the revenue increases. So that was another thing that made me dive more into Spikes Academy instead of the Pasiona Proyecto.
Yeah, I want to touch on actually a point that you mentioned just then in terms of starting multiple projects and then going with one and stopping the rest, right? But oftentimes it's not clear to see which one is doing significantly better. Like not all the time you get something where you sell 50 courses in one day, right? Oftentimes they're even, and then one pulls ahead. But when do you actually know when to stop a business? Like, what are the markers and the signs for you?
For me, it's easy to kill ideas because my sacrifice towards it is not that big. Like, I don't start ideas that I have to put more than $10,000 or more than $5,000. Like, I bootstrap ideas. I usually start ideas from a domain and a free website. So my entry point to start projects is so low that killing ideas doesn't really matter. Like, doesn't really matter at all. This would be different if I was the type of people that goes knocking on doors, and I have venture capitalists, and I have a lot of funds and money from everyone, and I have to give it back if that company fails. I don't do that. I don't do for loans. I bootstrapped everything. And I think that all of this happens because I wanted to become to be a graffiti artist. So in Panama there was not enough graffiti paint, high quality graffiti paint. So I imported from Germany to Panama a container of the best spray paint at that moment, and I partnered up with local artists to open a graffiti shop. That store, I had to close that store. When I closed that store, I wind up in my room. I was an 18-year-old in my room with a lot of spray paint. So what happened with all of that spray paint is that I created a project of painting the university, the main Panamanian university. So I was able to sell all of my inventory to the university and do a program that wind up being super profitable for me. Like,
Mm.
I had to close the store, so we stopped paying rent, stopped paying everything, and then all of the inventory I used it for this project in which I invited graffiti artists and we painted the university and we did like a weekend out of that, and that became so much more profitable that my brain completely understood, like, I don't need a store, I don't need constant expenses, and if something seems like a failure at closing the store, I can come up with ideas that are different, that will still allow me to sell of this inventory and make all of the money that I wanted, just by being like this the middleman between the university and the graffiti artist in the whole project, I wind up making more profit than the profit that I would have get if I just sold each can in the store and having to
Mm.
pay rent and all of that. So that was, I was a kid, I was 17, so I was 17 and 18. So my point is that my first big failure wound up being profitable because I was able to pivot. So
Mm.
just to wrap up and answer this question is like, first of all, I start businesses that don't take much to start, and if something is going down and it's definitely not working, I trust that I will find ways to pivot it in a way that I will still make some profit out of it, you know.
Yeah, it's so important to pivot. Like the creativity that you show there, I feel like should be an inspiration to many aspiring entrepreneurs. Like what may seem like a failure is really just another avenue for success. So I think that's, yeah, it's extremely important takeaway. Um, but I've got a question around, back to the Sparks Academy, and when you guys launched, you had initial success, right? Were there any challenges that you faced after that initial success? And if so, how did you overcome them?
So, and I think this is really important for anyone that's trying to make a business out of another business. So, for example, there's a lot of companies making a lot of money in Shopify apps, which is a beautiful business model, but you depend on Shopify. And there's a lot of companies making like specifically like iOS apps. Like in our case, our business was based in a game that we didn't control. So Wizards of the Coast, the creators of this game, if they change rules or if they change something that will affect our business models way too much. So then I start thinking like I will never do this again. I will never do something in which an external entity can crash my company right away. Because in this case, what demotivates me is how the creators of the game make the game less competitive. So that demotivate me. So I was like, man, this sucks. If I would have made an online academy for people that want to play games better, like in general, like people that want to play any game better, and we talk about game theory, then regardless of if of a game popularity, my company could have still succeed. Like in this case, it was too fragile. So I was like, yeah, that was a bad idea choosing something so fragile. But at the end of the day, it didn't affect us drastically because the company didn't fail. But I can see how it could, like if you only, like if all of your business model is only doing like WordPress plugins and their WordPress disappears, like that is something that you want to avoid. So the reason why this wasn't that hard was because we loved so much the topic, you know, like the game itself. So doing these courses, meeting the pros, like anything that for anyone would have been work wasn't work for me. Like I created this company because I wanted to meet these people.
And then you mentioned expenses, right? You started off with a $36 email domain. And then what was the progression? Like, what were your expenses moving forward? And then how did you decide it was the right time to, outsource and hire someone else to help?
The beautiful thing of bootstrapping is that the expenses can increase parallel to your standards. If you increase your standards, your expenses might increase, but you decide that. We could have left the standards in zero if we continue like sending just a microphone and people recording in their house and then sending things here. We increased the expenses when we wanted to increase the quality, when we saw that the professional player had no idea how to record themselves. So we were like, man, we have to help because we really want this course. So most of the expenses were record like traveling to where they were to recording. And yeah, we hired people when we wanted to stop doing things. Like there was a moment in which I was tired of editing and I was like, man, I'm out. Like I think I'm wasting my time editing because I wanted to do a print on demand business. I wanted to do merchandising. I wanted to do other things just to explore. So I was like, hey, let's hire an editor. And we did that. And then you start seeing how sending like 200 gigabytes course to someone overseas is super difficult. You need different play platforms. So all of these things, like I just want to say, anyone hearing this, like for real, the first 5 startups or projects that you do need to be 20% theory, 80% practice. Like you have to do it, like do it. Like theory is good, just not to move without a north. You know, like it's good like to decide a north, or to decide like to understand that there are things that you can control and things that you cannot control. Like a lot of the small things, like processes and how things can be more efficient or not. That's something that only happens in practice. So once again, like when did I hire people? Like when we knew that it was the moment to do it, and that
Yeah.
was it.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, more intuition, I suppose. Like, and with the bootstrap side of things, like it's important, right? Like, you can decide to, spend more money and increase your costs and expenses whenever you feel like.
Because we didn't have like loans or venture capitalists or money from someone else. We didn't have a big pressure of what we have to do. We only had the possibilities of what we wanted to do. So we were not forced to finish 10 courses at the end of the year. We were pushed by our personal desires. So because of that, we have the flexibility to hire when we want. We have the flexibility to not hire if we don't want to, and make different decisions like that. That's one thing that you have to consider. If you're going to ask for investors or other people, you will be able to scale quicker, and you will be able to, yeah, to do better or bigger things. But you will have to follow a playbook, maybe not even decided by you, because of the economical pressure of like paying at the end of the month, etc.
And were there any competitors? Did anyone pop up doing a similar sort of thing to you?
There were not that many competitors because there wasn't a huge market. If the market is really, like in this case, the market was so small because we were specific of this game, and inside this game we were specifically like competitor, like people that wanted to play competitively. We went so niche that there were no competitors. If you start to zoom out, there were people doing it but for casual players. There were people doing it but for other games. There are people doing it like for Dungeons and Dragons, there's Infinite, for League of Legends, because those games are seen and played by so much more people that there's more ways of making money. Like you can make money through AdSense. In Magic the Gathering, you cannot, because like only two people are doing it, because there's less viewership. Market sizes affect ways of profitability, and that as a consequence affects competitors. Competitors are a good indication that there is a market big enough to be profitable.
And you mentioned, yeah, Magic the Gathering is such a niche. Did that affect your, decision making into actually starting this project in the first place, knowing that it is so small?
I was like, I'm going to do this because I want. If I sell 50 courses or 25 courses, it was 50 courses in 1 month, I'll keep on doing it. Like that was the whole premise. Let's do this for fun. If this happens, we continue doing it. If this doesn't happen, we stop doing it. With Adios Garlic, the sauce, the hot sauce, same thing happened. I was like, hey, I like hot sauce. Every hot sauce has garlic and onion. I'm gonna make a new hot sauce without garlic and onion. If I'm able to sell 74 bottles in 3 months, I continue. If I am not able, then I don't. So what happened with Adios Garlic? Similar than Spike's Academy. With Spike's Academy, the professional player tweeted, hey, I launched this course, wanna buy it? Boom. Everything got sold the first day. With Adios
Mm.
Garlic, I am part of a low FODMAPs Reddit group that I see like recipes and things like that. So I was like, hey guys, I make this sauce. It has no onion, no garlic that I've been struggling to find in the groceries. I want 3 people to try this hot sauce. I'm gonna send it for your house for free. Try it and let me know if you like it or not. And that way I can use that as a testimony in my site, and then I launch. I put that on Reddit on a Saturday night. I went to sleep. On Sunday morning, 35 people bought the hot sauce right away. So
Wow.
I just asked for volunteers, but the reaction, like people start buying in a website that had no testimonies. I was saying like, hey, this is the website, but I need testimony who wants to try it. I didn't even try to sell. I didn't even. What happened is that the people were saying, I am looking for the same hot sauce. I haven't been able. I want to buy it. 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 My next morning, I had a brunch that Sunday with my wife and the dad, and I was just looking at my phone, and it was that classic, like people buying, 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 buying.
Mm.
What's going on? I was so happy. So, and how much it cost me to make this hot sauce? It cost me $400. That I went to the casino one. So this is the story of the hot sauce. I wanted
Mm.
that, but I had the idea. I had the idea. I had the idea, and I never do anything about that idea. I went to the casino. I spent $100, and I won $400. And I spent the $400 and I lost everything. So I lost all of the $400, and I felt stupid. I felt so stupid that I came home and I was like, you know what? This idea that I've been thinking of, my budget is gonna be $400. It's gonna be what I had in the casino. So what I
Mm.
did last night is I had this idea, and I was like, it was a domain that I had bought a while ago. So I was like, man, I had a domain, I had the anger of being stupid of spending money in a casino when I can use the same low budget to bootstrap a business. I was like, I'm gonna bootstrap this business. So my goal was with $400, create the first batch. So I already had the recipe because this is an idea that had been in my mind for a while. I find the ghost kitchen. They cook the hot sauce for us. They did all of the hot sauce for us. They send the hot sauce here, and once they send everything, I had it all with the same money of that I lost in the casino, like with the same anger. So you can see how improvised it sound, but it was a weekend thing. I remember that Saturday that I put the Reddit post. I told my wife, "Hey babe, drop me in Panera and pick me up in 4 hours. My goal is to have Adios Garlic website ready in while I'm in Panera." So she was like, okay. She dropped me in Panera, picked me up later, and I had the website all the website ready with the $400 of hot sauce that I had. But I sent that night. I sent a Reddit post to plan to launch in a month. Like I was still building the testimonials. I still needed marketing
Mm.
material. I didn't have a logo. If you go to Adios Garlic right now, it's a favicon. It's like an emoji. Like I don't really have a logo right now. So it was like something that I wanted to do. I wanted to do it as quickly as possible because I was not proud of my casino night. So I was like, I'm gonna do with the same budget something completely different. And that was the response of the Reddit group. And because of that response, boom. So what I want to advise anyone is that if you want to follow this path, because there's many paths of doing businesses, but mine is bootstrapping, low cost, and understand the response of the audience. Is like start with something that doesn't cost you much, that you find fun, that you want to do, and launch it out there as MVP as possible, and see how people react. In this case, people reacted so good, like so good. So that's why I
Mm.
keep on doing it.
Yeah, it seems like there's a common trend between all your businesses, right? It's the move fast, push out a product that is quite niche, actually. Even, hot sauce for the low FODMAP diet is niche, but it solves a problem that these people are having. Out of interest, right? Were there any regulations around edible products that you had to navigate?
Yes, so I work in the food industry. That's really important. I've been working in Village Gourmet is a company like we own 5 different brands. We sell food, so I know about food industries. What I did here, that's why I mentioned a ghost kitchen. So I am partnering with a company that has the kitchen that makes my recipe. So they have all of the permits. I legally speaking, I am only a distributor. I have an LLC for distributor, and that's completely fine. But at the end of the day, the food safety procedures of this specific product is made by the ghost kitchen. This is called private label. This is super common. Like many people buy a lot of things, like with coffee actually. Like you will be amazed of how many coffee companies out there are only distributors of private label coffee. And I work as a distributor. That's why I just have the legal permits of a normal distributor, but I will continue doing it. Like if I find more products that are into the low FODMAP diet, I will buy them already made and sell them.
Mm.
And why I do that is because I know that what I want in life is I want fully automated stores. I want like 7 different Shopify stores or online stores that are fully automated so I can not work. If I am only a distributor, or it will be like an in-country drop shipper, or however you want to label it, I don't have inventory, so that's best. Like I would use a third party fulfillment, which is not to have inventory. So I will never want to have kitchens. I don't want to own kitchens. I don't want to get all of those permits. I don't want to have a physical space with my sign and things like that. So all of my
Mm.
ideas tend to be in not having inventory. So that's why I work on the distributor line, which is less margin for freedom because then I don't have to have like I don't know how many employees to work on those kitchens, etc., etc. Because in my full time job, I see that. I work with places, we go to factories, and I see that, and I'm like, I definitely don't want this,
That's awesome. And with Adios Garlic, just a silly question actually. How did you come up with the name? Why wasn't it Adios Onion? Why the garlic?
Because I live in New York now, and in New York there's a lot of Italian influence, and I dislike that everything has garlic. Like everything has garlic. Like some things might have onions or might not have onions, is fine. But like garlic, it's in everything. And in some cases it makes sense, but in other cases, I've cooked in my house, I've cooked for my whole family. Sometimes I remove the garlic and no one knows. No one can tell.
Mm.
So I was like, man, garlic is such an iconic thing in my location and actually in the world. Like people are obsessed with garlic in general. Even the vampires like hate garlic, so it's like garlic has a symbolism. So I think onion, because of the news, like the onion, which is fake news, and a lot of people don't like onions, more people like garlic. I think another thing is that I try to be I like to steer the pot, like to be like a contrarian in a way. So like garlic is so loved by everyone that I felt that it was stronger if if I was against garlic and not against onions, which so many people are against onions, even though they don't follow the diet. The good thing here is that the original name was it was different. The original name was not garlic. It was not garlic.com. But my wife
Mm.
was like, man, you should do adios garlic because you're Latino. And I was like, shit, that's such a good idea. Like adios, it's something that Spanish people know, but in America, people in the United States, people understand adios also. It's like so yeah, I think it was beautiful. So I don't know, like my wife came up with the idea, but garlic was always the enemy.
And so with Adios Garlic, right? I see that you're expanding and you're selling merch as well. Like how popular is that when people are buying hot sauce?
The problem with the first batch is that the first batch of hot sauce, because I did it angry after my casino night, I literally did it like the next day angry with that fuel. The name in the label was like, the farts, garlic ain't worth it. Because people fart a lot when they eat garlic if they're allergic to garlic. It was so aggressive that I was like, man, I don't like this. I have to change the label. So I am rebranding completely the label and the site and everything. The merch idea is part of the second wave that I already ordered. It should arrive in 14 days. So the idea here is like I don't have any inventory of the t-shirts. That's all print on demand. It's made by a different warehouse. When someone buys, that warehouse ships directly. So this is me trying to jump into understanding print on demand. So I do this more to learn about print on demand than to make Adios Garlic because I don't see specific businesses as the most important way of making money. Like, for example, the best way for Adios Garlic to give me relevant money is for me to sell it, create a big audience of this diet, and sell that in micro acquire, empire flippers, or to private people, like selling the company. Because if that is not the way my exit, I am only making maybe $5 per bottle because I'm the distributor. I'm not making those bottles, so I'm already buying them at a high price. Shipping liquids, it's expensive. Like this is glass, like it weighs, it uses more material, and most of my
Mm.
buyers are in the West Coast because the Spanish speaking community, like Texas, Seattle, California, like those are the people that do sauces in America the most. Like statistically, they're like 80% of my customers. So it's super expensive the shipping. So per bottle, I might not earn a lot. That's why I was thinking like, oh, by adding print on demand, that's another extra thing. But I know that Adios Garlic will not make me millionaire, but I will be able to sell it and make really good capital to start something else. So what is that something else that I want to do? I want to make fully automated print on demand stores. By fully automated, it's I talk about like Twitter bots. Like actually having the t-shirts was my Saturday project on Adios Garlic. My Sunday project, if you go to any of my social media, is that I created a Twitter bot. A Twitter bot that promotes a website that is a different website for a different project just to see if I can send traffic. Ideally, I'm able to create bots that send traffic to a print on demand website eventually. So that's why I jump into the print on demand. It's not only like laser focused to see how Adios Garlic
Mm.
people buy. It's more to understand the ecosystem of print on demand, because I know that my next business is probably going to have to do with automating traffic to stores with print on demand. So that's why I have multiple things happening, because then I can grab the best of one and put it in another one and tinker and things like that. I don't know if this is good for everyone, for every brain. Like, I don't know how others' brain work, but I cannot like one thing. It's impossible for me to like one thing. I like many things, but that's why I optimize my days to make everything as best as possible. But I've tried too many times to do just one thing, and that's not me.
I love how it's all interrelated.
In a way,
Have
yeah.
you ever found like any, negative impacts? Like a lot of advice at the moment, they tell you, focus on one thing, do one thing, go deep, not wide. Whereas it seems like you've had quite a bit of success, focusing on multiple passion projects at once. Why do you think that is?
I like everything. I like so many things that I'm gonna be authentic and I'm gonna pursue all of these different projects. So that is my authenticity. Like, yes. And this might be bad. Like, for example, I think my YouTube suffers. And because my YouTube has so many different things. I was a travel blogger for 3 years. I had a really successful blog that I also sold. But I have so many things that maybe in SEO,
Mm,
those things are not SEO optimized, and those things might affect me. But if I only do one thing, that makes me unhappy. So that creates bad friction. Because following this just focus advice is not authentic good for me. Like, it's not like it doesn't work for me. So when we have to stop seeking advice, and like stop seeking advice actively, and we have to find the advice passively. So I just do whatever I do that it's happy, and then I discover things that are like, oh, this makes sense. Like, all of my chaos can be sustained by the quote, um, escape competition through authenticity. Like, that's why I have many things, because I'm trying to be as authentic as possible to have many things. So, as weird as it sounds, I believe that focusing on one thing is not for me, and because it's not for
mm.
me, oh, I won't do it because I tried it.
Yeah, I think like even for me, I think I'm very similar to you in that I enjoy a lot of things, and that there's many people out there. We're hearing, different advice, so it's so refreshing to hear that, you know, there's not just a one size fits all answer. Like there are different strategies that can work, and so yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's super encouraging. You want to do all these projects because you want to retire, and so what's the end goal? Like, what does a dream retirement look like for you? I know you mentioned, when we were chatting before, that you were working and traveling all around the world. Is that still a goal of yours?
No, it's super tiring traveling. When I was a digital nomad, like, I traveled so much, and it was beautiful in while it happened, but it's tiring, and it's psychologically exhausting to meet new people everywhere and make new friends and tell the same story infinite times. I don't want to do that, but I want to be able to do that if I want to. Like,
Mm,
I want to do whatever I want if I want to. Like, I want to do if I want to. I want to do whatever I want. Right now, like, I like for example, having this call with you, I have to move my calendar in a way because of all of the other things I have to fit this time to do this call. I want not to have to do anything like that. So for me, retirement is like doing whatever I want whenever I want. That doesn't mean that I will stop doing what I do. I will probably continue doing it. But, if I have the choice of just turning off the computer right now and go hiking, I can do it. Right now, I
mm,
cannot. So for me, retiring is not to have to follow anyone else's parameters of success. Like, that's why I'm zero interested in venture capitalist or in Y Combinator or things like that, because
mm,
yeah, because I like, for me, it's not about money. It's about, I just want to be cash flow positive, obviously, which I am. I have no debt, so it's really comforting. So I just want to be able to do whatever I want whenever I want, regardless of, because when you travel a lot, you realize that money is such weird thing. Like, in New York City, I earn a lot, but the expenses are extremely high. When I was traveling in Thailand, for example, in Thailand, I could earn less, but I was living like a king because I was earning in dollars. And I remember I ate once with my wife. We had like dessert, drinks, and everything, and the whole bill was like $12. So like
Wow.
money doesn't matter if you move to places that are less expensive. So like it's not about the money. I just know that I want to have a lot of income sources that are completely automated that allow me to follow my passions as much as I want. Like I know that I want eventually I will be able to make money out of my drawings. I would love to draw and make money. I also know that
Mm.
I have food limitations, so I want to make money with items that I can eat because that affects me. I also know that I enjoy traveling, so I want to make money traveling, like continue like doing more YouTube videos of the traveling and things like that. So what I want is all of this magic, playing magic. How can I make money playing magic? Like I have this list of these things that I love doing, and I want a life in which I can continue doing all of those things and being paid for those things by companies that I own, not by anyone else or not external entities. That's the problem with like the travel blog that I had, that they will pay me to go to specific hotels to do specific videos, to do specific product mentions, and I was like, I'm out. Like I'm like I'm
Mm.
working for someone else. Like so, my goal and my way of retirement is, I would say like paperwork freedom, but I will
Mm.
probably continue doing what I'm doing because that's the life that I want. I want what gives me fun and joy to pay for that. Like that's a positive cycle, and that's it.